Exam number 3 prep. This exam follows the same setup as exam number 1 and exam number 2. It will be on Canvas under the quizzes section. Use Responder's Lockdown browser with your front-facing camera on. You may use personal notes and a physical textbook, but headphones and e-book are not allowed. The exam has 35 questions, 30 multiple choice, and 5 short answer. The exam opens on Friday, July 11 at 12 p.m. PST, and it closes on Saturday, July 12 at 12 p.m. PST. This exam covers the last 3 chapters, Chapter 13, Chapter 14, and Chapter 15. After all, just prepare the same way you did for the previous exams. Now we're going to review the materials discussed starting with Chapter 13, the Keynesian class. In the Keynesian class model, planned spending is PE equals C plus I plus G. Actual output is Y. If Y is greater than PE, firms produce more than what is being bought, so inventories rise. If Y is less than PE, firms sell more than they produce, so inventories fall. The goods market is in equilibrium when Y equals PE. Multipliers. Government spending multiplier is delta Y over delta G equals 1 over 1 minus MPC. Then delta Y equals 1 over 1 minus MPC overall times delta G. Tax multiplier is delta Y over delta T equals minus MPC over 1 minus MPC. Then delta Y equals minus MPC over 1 minus MPC overall times delta T. The IS curve. The IS curve shows combinations of output Y and interest rate R, where the goods market is in equilibrium. The equation is Y equals consumption, a function of Y, minus T bar, plus investment, a function of R, plus G bar. If government spending increases, the IS curve shifts right, and the magnitude is delta Y equals 1 over 1 minus MPC overall times delta G. The LM curve. The LM curve shows combinations of output Y and interest rate R that balance the money market. The equation is M bar over P bar equals liquidity, a function of R and Y. If the money supply falls, real money balances fall. Then R rises and LM shifts up or left. IS-LM equilibrium. The economy reaches short-run equilibrium where the IS and LM curves intersect. That is, both markets are in balance. Y equals consumption, a function of Y, minus T bar, plus investment, a function of R, plus G bar, can be equal to M bar over P bar equals liquidity, a function of R and Y. Chapter 14. Policy effects on IS. Increase in G. IS shifts right. Both interest rate R and output Y rise, and the magnitude is delta Y equals delta G over 1 minus MPC. Decrease in T. IS shifts right. Both interest rate R and output Y rise, and the magnitude is delta Y equals MPC over 1 minus MPC overall times delta T. Increase in M. LM shifts right or downward. Interest rate R falls and output Y rises. Monetary and fiscal policy interaction. 1. Hold M constant. G increases, shifts IS out or rightward. LM stays the same. As a result, both interest rate R and output Y rise. 2. Hold R constant. G increases, shifts IS out or rightward. To keep R constant, M increases. Then LM shifts out or rightward. As a result, interest rate R remains unchanged, and output Y rises further. 3. Hold Y constant. T increases, shifts IS in or leftward. To keep Y constant, M decreases, then LM shifts in or leftward. As a result, interest rate R rises further and output Y remains unchanged. Why the Fed targets interest rate R? Interest rates are easier to observe than the money supply. LM shocks are more common than IS shocks. Targeting interest rate R helps stabilize income or output Y better. Aggregate demand and policy, monetary policy. An increase in the money supply causes the LM curve to shift right. This results in a lower interest rate R, which in turn stimulates consumption and investment. Consequently, aggregate demand shifts to the right, leading to an increase in output Y at any given price level. Fiscal policy, an increase in government spending or a decrease in taxes causes the IS curve to shift right. This raises output Y and interest rate R. As a result, aggregate demand shifts to the right, leading to an increase in output Y at any given price level. Chapter 15, we discuss Mendel-Fleming model. This model explains how a small open economy works with perfect capital mobility. Since capital can move freely across borders, the domestic interest rate equals the world interest rate. R equals R star. I star curve represents goods market equilibrium. Y equals consumption, a function of Y minus T, plus investment, a function of R star, plus G, plus NX, a function of E. Output Y depends on consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. The nominal exchange rate E influences net exports. If E falls or depreciates, exports rise, so NX rises and output Y also rises. LM star curve represents money market equilibrium. M over P equals liquidity, a function of R star, and Y. Money demand depends on output Y and the fixed interest rate R star. Since E does not affect the money market, the LM star curve is vertical in the EY graph. Equilibrium conditions. Equilibrium is where both markets are in balance. Y equals consumption, a function of Y minus T, plus investment, a function of R star, plus G, plus NX, a function of E. And M over P equals liquidity, a function of R star, and Y. Exchange rate regimes. Floating exchange rate. E is allowed to fluctuate in response to changing economic conditions. Fixed exchange rate. The central bank intervenes to keep E at a target level by trading domestic for foreign currency at a predetermined price. Policy effects under floating exchange rates. Fiscal policy. An increase in government spending G initially causes output Y to rise and shifts IS star to the right, the resulting in appreciation of the exchange rate E, which reduces NX. As a result, output Y falls back to its original level and remains unchanged. Monetary policy. An increase in the money supply M shifts LM star to the right. The resulting depreciation of the exchange rate E increases NX. As a result, output Y rises. Trade policy. Imports restriction, such as imposing tariffs or reducing quotas, initially increases NX, shifting both NX and IS star to the right. The resulting appreciation of the exchange rate E reduces NX. As a result, output Y falls back to its original level and remains unchanged. Policy effects under fixed exchange rates. Fiscal policy. An increase in government spending G initially causes output Y to rise and shifts IS star to the right. To keep the exchange rate E from rising or appreciating, the central bank must sell domestic currency. This increases the money supply M, shifting LM star to the right. As a result, output Y rises further and the exchange rate E remains unchanged because it is fixed. Monetary policy. An increase in the money supply M shifts LM star to the right. To keep the exchange rate E from falling or depreciating, the central bank must buy domestic currency. This reduces the money supply M, causing LM star to shift back to its original position. As a result, both output Y and the exchange rate E remain unchanged because E is fixed. Trade policy. Imports restrictions such as imposing tariffs or reducing quotas initially increases NX, shifting IS star to the right. To keep the exchange rate E from rising or appreciating, the central bank must sell domestic currency. This increases the money supply M, shifting LM star to the right. As a result, output Y rises further and exchange rate E remains unchanged because it is fixed. Floating versus fixed exchange rates. Floating allows countries to use monetary policy for domestic goals, such as stable growth and low inflation. Fixed brings stability and predictability, limits inflation by controlling money supply. Now let's go through the sample practice questions together. Question number 1. We are given MPC equals 0.75 and delta G equals 2. Step 1. Increase in planned expenditure. Because government spending increases by $2 billion, so planned expenditure also increases by $2 billion. Step 2. Change in income or output. Applying the spending multiplier, delta Y equals 1 over 1 minus MPC times delta G. After plug in the numbers, we get delta Y equals $8 billion. The answer is A, 2 and 8. Planned expenditures increase by $2 billion and income increases by $8 billion. Question number 2. We are given the money demand function MOP with superscript D equals 2200 minus 200R. The price level is P equals 2 and the Fed wants to fix the interest rate at R equals 7%. Plug in the interest rate into the money demand equation and solve for M. We get M equals 1600. The answer is C, 1600. Question number 3. Step 1. Initial LM. After plugging in the value of M equals 1000 and solving for Y, we get Y equals 500 plus 100R. Step 2. Set IS equals initial LM. Solving for R, we get R equals 6. Then using this value of R, we find Y equals 1100. Step 3. New LM after money supply increases. After plugging in the new value of M equals 1200 and solving for Y, we get Y equals 600 plus 100R. Step 4. Set IS equals new LM. Solving for R, we get R equals 515. Then using this value of R, we find Y equals 1150. Therefore, delta Y rises by 50 and delta R falls by 0.5. The answer is C. Equilibrium income rises by 50 and the interest rate falls by 0.5%. Question number 4. To maintain a fixed exchange rate, the central bank must prevent the exchange rate from falling below its target level. If the exchange rate drops, it means the domestic currency is too strong relative to the foreign currency. To bring the exchange rate back up to the fixed level, the central bank must increase the supply of foreign currency in the market. It does this by selling foreign currency from reserves. The answer is D. Sell foreign currency from reserves. Question number 5. In a small open economy where the floating exchange rate and increase in government spending shifts IS star to the right, what happens in a graph? The economy starts at point A, where IS star 1 intersects LM star 1. When government spending increases, IS star shifts to the right to IS star 2. The exchange rate is floating, so the central bank does not intervene, and LM star stays the same. The new equilibrium is at point B, where IS star 2 intersects LM star 1. Result at point B, the exchange rate E appreciates and output Y stays the same. The answer is B, point B. Question number 6. We are given C equals 200 plus 2/3 times Y minus T, I equals 300, G equals 300, and T equals 300. A. Planned spending and inventory change. If Y equals 1500, then C equals 1000, PE equals C plus I plus G equals 1600. Inventory change equals PE minus Y equals 1600 minus 1500 equals 100. It is unplanned decumulation. B. Equilibrium output. Set PE equals Y and solving for Y, we get Y equals 1800. C. change in income, and multiplier. Knowing MPC equals 2/3 from the consumption function, we can find spending multiplier equals 1/1 minus MPC equals 3. Government spending decreases by 100, so delta Y equals negative 300. Question number 7. A. IS curve. Start with Y equals C plus I plus G. Substituting the consumption function, investment function, and the value of G and solving for Y, we get Y equals 3000 minus 50R. So the IS curve is Y equals 3000 minus 50R. B. LM curve. Substituting the values of M and P into the real money demand or money supply equation and solving for Y, we get Y equals 2400 plus 100R. So the LM curve is Y equals 2400 plus 100R. Question number 8. A. Equilibrium output and interest rate. We start with IS curve. Substituting the consumption function, investment function, and the values of G and T and solving for Y, we get Y equals 3000 minus 200R. Then LM curve, substituting the values of M and P into the real money demand equation and solving for Y, we get Y equals 1000 plus 200R. Set IS equals LM, we can find R equals 5 and Y equals 2000. So the equilibrium is interest rate R equals 5 and output Y equals 2000. B. If G increases to 700, first update IS, then we get Y equals 3500 minus 200R. Set new IS equals LM, we can find R equals 6.25 and Y equals 2250. So the new equilibrium is interest rate R equals 6.25 and output Y equals 2250. C. If M increases to 4500, first update LM, then we get Y equals 1500 plus 200R. Set initial IS equals new LM, we can find R equals 3.75 and Y equals 2250. So the new equilibrium is interest rate R equals 3.75 and output Y equals 2250. Question number 9. A. Find the equilibrium output using the LM star curve. Plugging in the given values of R, M, and P into the LM star curve equation, we find Y equals 480. So the equilibrium output is Y equals 480. B. Find the exchange rate using the IS star curve and an X function. Plugging in the given values of Y, G, T, and R equals R star into the IS star curve equation, we find NX equals 132.5. Then, using the NX function and solving for E, we find E equals 0.233. So the equilibrium exchange rate is E equals 0.233. Question number 10. A. Equilibrium output and net exports. From LM star, substituting the values of M and P into the LM star curve equation, we find Y equals 400. From IS star, substituting the value of E into the NX function, we find NX equals 100. Then, substituting the values of G, T, NX, and R equals R star into the IS star curve equation, we find Y equals 400. Therefore, Y equals 400, NX equals 100, and the exchange rate E equals 1 is consistent with equilibrium. B. Effect of an open market bond purchase. If the Fed buys bonds, the money supply increases, causing the LM star curve to shift to the right. However, under a fixed exchange rate, the central bank must maintain the exchange rate fixed, so it offsets the monetary expansion by selling foreign reserves and buying back US dollars, which reduces the money supply. As a result, the LM star curve shifts back left and output Y stays the same.